Hello, everybody. Welcome to IT Skills Channel. My name is Aiden, and in this video, we're going to take a look at the AI 3008 course, AI 3018 course. This course is going to be intensive, and it's going to tell us about the AI and the generative AI capabilities, as well as Copilot, Microsoft flagship of AI, and we're going to take a look at that. So, before we get started, we're going to need to discuss some basic terminologies and understanding of AI. What is generative AI? What is language models? What is Copilot? What is Microsoft Copilot specifically? Consideration for Copilot prompts. Expanding and developing Copilot. And then we're going to explore lab with the AI, generative Copilot with the AI. So that's what we're going to try to do. And without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing is first is what is generative AI? Generative AI. Generative AI, think of it as the AI imitates human behavior by using machine learning to interact with the environment and execute tasks without explicit direction. So on what to output. Generative AI is a subset of AI in which an AI model creates original content in response to a natural language prompt. Generative AI application takes in a natural language input and returns appropriate response in a variety of formats. Natural language generation. To generate a natural language response, you might want to submit a prompt such as give me 3 ideas for a healthy breakfast including peppers, or write a cover letter for my resume. That's an example of generative AI, and this is something you can do right now with ChatGPT, Bing, with Microsoft Copilot, or any other AI solution like Google AI, Facebook AI, etc. Image generation. Some generative AI application can intercept a natural language request and generate an appropriate image. For example, you might want to create an image of an elephant eating a burger, or create a logo for florist business. So when you go to ChatGPT, there's a tool called Dolphy, or there's so many tools out there, obviously, that you can use to generate an image of anything. Whatever you can think of and whatever your imagination is in there, you can make an image out of it. And the next thing you have is code generation. Some generative AI applications are designed to help software developer write code. For example, you can ask to submit a request, show me how to code a game of tic-tac-toe with Python, or write a Python code to add two numbers. So this is again very powerful. It makes human beings almost have to work with AI. You can no longer survive in the world of AI if you are AI hater, or if you are AI, let's just say, away from it, you are anti-AI. So you gotta enjoy this AI capabilities. Otherwise, there's no way that the world is just gonna be standing still for you. So now let's continue on with our presentation. As far as the language models, which is the next thing, today's cutting-edge large language model like LLMs, ChatGPT, and Copilot are based on transformer architecture, which builds on and extends some techniques that have been proven successful in modeling vocabularies to support NLP tasks, and in particular in generating language. Transformer models are trained with large volumes of text, enabling them to represent the semantic relationship between words, and used for those relationships to predict probable sequences of text that make sense. Transformer models with a large enough vocabularies are capable of generating language response that are tough to distinguish from human responses. So, in example, if the AI is trained so good, it can almost do some human behavior, because that's what we see. Sometimes you see a music generated by AI, sometimes you see a book written by AI, you see a theory written by AI, like scientific theory. It can write a lot, and some of it is going to be giving you whatever you put in. So if the training is bad, it's going to give you the bad output. If the training is good, it's going to give you good output. In practice, the specific implement of our architecture vary. For example, the bidirectional encoder representation from the transformer BERT model developed by Google to support the research engine uses only an encoder block to generate semantic vector representation of text, while the generative pre-trained transformer GBT model developed by OpenAI uses a decoder block to generate sequence nature of language. So, in short terms, Google AI sucks. It's been in the news so many times. Whereas ChatGPT, it does tend sometimes threaten to kill a human being or a bully human being. It's not been on the news like that. And so let's continue. Now, when it comes to the language model foundations, you can think of two main team basically. You can think of Azure OpenAI, which they partner with OpenAI. They spend billions on it. You can think of a model catalog, Azure AI Studio, Machine Learning Studio. So there's so many AI options. It's just a matter of what you want to do. So organization and developer train their AI models from scratch, but in most cases, it's more practical to use an existing foundation model and optionally fine tune it with your own training data. There are many sorts of models that you can use. On Microsoft Azure, the OpenAI service include a correlated set of models from OpenAI hosted in Azure. This offers the benefit of cutting edge language models like generative pre-trained transformer GBT or collection of model on which the ChatGPT and Microsoft Open own generative AI service are based, as well as DALL-E model for image generation. Using these models from the OpenAI services means that you can get the benefit of a secure, scalable Azure platform in which models are hosted. So OpenAI and Microsoft have this unique relationship. They are partners for life, if you will. Microsoft have put in bunch of money. They almost can't go back into another AI model. They have to stick with OpenAI, and OpenAI makes ChatGPT, but Microsoft makes Azure AI, which is based on OpenAI GPT language or large language model. And in this case, it's simply almost carbon copy, but Microsoft fine tuned theirs to make it better. And so OpenAI models are included in the model catalog and correlated with a source of models for data scientists, developer using Azure AI Studio, Azure Machine Learning. In addition to Azure OpenAI models, the model catalog includes the latest open source models from Microsoft and multiple partners. So you think about the likes of Microsoft, OpenAI, Hugging Face, Mistral, Meta, Databricks, others. You got so many things. But the main thing about the Azure models that we need to think about is the GPT models are for large natural language for encoding and code generation, embedding models to vectorized text token, DALL-E mix for image generation, Whisperer models for speech and recognition. So again, very good. Now, when it comes to large language, there is a large and a small language model. So let's talk about the difference for a little bit. So when it comes to models, many language models are available and you can use the power of generative application. In general, large language can be considered in two categories. In general, language model can be considered in two categories: large language model LLMS and small language model SLMS. Large language models are trained with vast quantities of text that represent a wide range of general subject matter, typically by sourcing data from the internet and other generally available publication. When trained, LMMS, large language models, have many billions, even trillions of parameters weight that can be applied to vector, enabling them in embedding them to calculate predicted token sequences. Basically, in other words, they're very powerful. They can absorb a lot vast amount of quantity data. And they are also enabling them to exhibit comprehensive language generation capabilities in wide range of conversational text, and also they can deploy in many devices, computers. They can be fine tuned. They're ultimately the best you can get. Similarly, you have SLMs, small language models, are trained with smaller, basically, as the name implies, more subject focused data sets and typically have fewer parameters than LMS. This focused vocabulary makes them very effective in specific conversation topic, less effective in at more general conversations. So they're basically very good at healthcare, maybe someplace where you train them in a medical area, or you train them in like a, let's just say, environmental area or animal, whatever you want to field you want to pursue. You can train them on that and they'd be good to give you the specific response from that field, but they're not going to be able to tell you, write me an essay about some topic they don't know anything about it. Ultimately, think of large language models as the superior. Every AI wants to be based on large language model because they want to be able to give you whatever you desire, whatever you ask for it. Whereas small language model are trained for a specific field and less expensive because you don't have to worry about putting them in bunch of data from the internet, billions of data, and also they can be used in so many ways. You have an example, for example, Microsoft Pi 2, PHI 2, you have Microsoft Orca 2, and then Open AI GPT Neo. Those are all small language model, and they can be portable, they can do a lot. Whereas large language model, they can be amazing. So, anyways, let's continue. So now that we talked about what is large language model, what is generative AI, now we need to talk about what is Copilot. Copilot is what we're here for, and this certification, it is actually designed with Copilot. The AI 3018, it's a Copilot certification. So now let's think about it. So generative AI and Copilot are basically the same. Copilot is a generative AI assistant that are integrated into application often as a chat interfaces. They provide contextualized support for common tasks in those applications. Business users can use Copilot to boost their productivity, creativity with AI generated content and automation of tasks. So, example, Copilot can be used to send emails, to create PowerPoint, especially when you buy the Copilot Studio with Microsoft 365. So in this case, you can see right now we have a Copilot situation with Microsoft 365 where the Copilot can be asked to basically assist the employee with whatever they want. You can integrate Copilot with Outlook, Microsoft Word, and they can also be integrated with PowerPoint. On the next few slides, we'll explore some ways that Microsoft Copilot has been integrated with apps to provide contextual assistant. So again, Copilot is the better and better. And instead of think of ChatGPT that's available in a business environment. That's the best way I can explain it. And here, this is the three couple levels that we need to think about. Three levels that we need to think about when it comes to Copilot adoption. Number one, can you use off-the-shelf Copilot like Microsoft Copilot for 365 to empower users and increase their productivity? You can use that off-the-shelf ones like Microsoft Copilot. But you can also extend the Microsoft Copilot to support custom business processes of tasks using your own data to control Copilot response to user prompt in in the organization you work with. You can also build custom Copilot to integrate generative AI into business apps or create unique experiences for your businesses or customers. So, when you think of Copilot, you can definitely unlock the potential and you can integrate with your business. You can also build a custom Copilot application. Those are the levels of Copilot adoption. If you don't want to do the creating your own application, you can use the vanilla one, the one that doesn't have any customization, and you can also extend it with your business plugin, like you can do some third-party application. So here is an example of a Copilot with Microsoft Bing and Edge. So as you can see, the screenshot, they're there to show you. You can use Copilot to browse and more effectively on the web. And again, to get to the Copilot, you can just go to copilot.microsoft.com, which provides a homepage where you can ask questions, generate content and text and images, Copilot is also integrated into Bing search. So anytime you search with Bing, know that Copilot is looking to give you information as far as what you want to get out of it. You can also browse with Microsoft Edge. Copilot is built in right into it. You can use anything basically Microsoft does now, Copilot is built into it. Even if you don't see it, it's coming soon. And so with all this Copilot option, you can sign in with your work or is in school account, and in the context of your organization data sensitive, enabling you to get a system with internal resources and information. So you can go ahead, read through your internal data and give you a system based on what you got going on with your organization. You can look at your OneDrive, SharePoint, other aspect of your Microsoft 365 tenant. So when it comes to Copilot, you can integrate with all the Microsoft 365 suite like we talked about it. But one of the best ways you can use with Copilot, and this is an example, is that you can use Copilot in Microsoft Word to generate a new document based on a natural language prompt, then refine it to summarize and improve it and document it. You can use Copilot in a PowerPoint to create a whole presentation based on contents of document, email, and then add graphic, reformat slides, otherwise improve your presentation. In Outlook, you can use Copilot to help you summarize your email, check your schedule, even find relevant emails and documents to prepare for meeting, and also prepare for reply, a response to an email. This are just some examples of Microsoft Copilot. There's so much more you can accomplish with Excel, Teams, and other applications. So stay tuned. So now you can see all the flavors of Copilot. You can see it in the screenshot again. You're seeing one in Outlook where Copilot is checking the calendar, looking at responses. You can see Copilot is basically doing it all. You can see it's doing it all. But I need to highlight some of the things. So you can see over here, for example, this is where Copilot is doing this generation of sales here. So this is where you got your sales data, and here is generating some type of response. And this is obviously calendar is looking at your calendar, meeting confirmation. So it's doing a lot. And another thing that people do with Copilot is they can integrate with Microsoft Dynamics. With all this is dynamic database, you can start to mess with the Copilot and use Dynamics 365 and start to engage with customers and sell more effectively. The next thing is this is what makes Copilot very powerful. Without this, I don't know if Copilot would be that powerful. You can see on the screenshot over here on the right hand side, that's where it's showing you the Microsoft Copilot for Security, which is basically using to query language to do advanced hunting. You can ask the Microsoft Security Copilot to tell you to remediate an action or give you a query of about a device issue or give you a query about login issues or somebody who had impossible travel in Microsoft 365. So this is going to use Microsoft Defender Suite, and assuming you have the license, and it can actually give you all this in query. You don't have to be to query expert anymore. You just need to know how to use the prompts. And that's what makes Copilot extremely reliable, extremely awesome. And then you also got over here where you can use Copilot to operate and estimate troubleshoot the Azure infrastructure. You can actually ask Copilot, "Hey, Copilot, this I'm having problem with my Azure. Can you help me?" Or you can do the same thing over here where you can see you can go ahead and ask Copilot to basically use the KQL language over here, KQL language. All this has been manual. Now you can just do it with Copilot. Next thing now, obviously, you can see here is we have Copilot in a even more detailed fashion. Here is Copilot with Power BI. You can do this. Power BI give you this nice analytical graph. In here, they ask for create a page that summarizes and it basically shows the price across the different categories. And here, they also ask Copilot in Notebook application like Microsoft Fabrics to write a code that needs to be analyzed, manipulated, and visualize the data. So again, very nice. Copilot is here and is getting a lot more usage traction. So even if you are just say you're anti AI, these results are amazing. I cannot even see why we won't use it. Then you got Copilot for GitHub. This is where again Copilot is taking over every developer eco space. Anybody who's a developer don't know about Copilot. It's like you're living on a cuckoo land, somewhere where you don't know any civilization. If you are in a civilization, you will know about Copilot because Copilot is here. It's not going anywhere. And so in this case, with Copilot GitHub, it's the most popular place for developer to manage their code. And GitHub has been around forever. It does amazing work. But now with Copilot, it helps developer maximize their productivity by analyzing and examining code, adding code documentation, generating new code based on natural language prompts, refactoring and optimizing code, generating code cases for existing function, integrating into developer tool like Microsoft Visual Studio, and much more. So whether you like to do developing or not, even if you're not don't have the skills, now you can use your natural language to say, "Hey, go ahead, develop this application with me," or "Hey, check this code with me." You could get existing code and tell it to help you make it better, analyze it for you. You could do so much. It's amazing. Now you can also in consideration for prompts. So when it comes to Copilot, we need to talk about the prompts because this is what makes AI useless if you don't know how to use it. While some Copilot provide bottom and other visual tools to interact with a language model, often you'll use Copilot by typing or speaking a natural language prompt. The specific prompt that you will yield the most effective result can vary depending on the specific task you're trying to accomplish. The Copilot being used and the language model it uses for suggest support to support generative AI are basically using whatever you ask for. However, there are some common prompting techniques that you can use to apply to get the best out of Copilot. For instance, here are the steps that you need to do. Start with the specific goals of what you wanted to do with Copilot. Be specific, explicit. Do not withhold that. If you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, then it's going to be hard. Next thing is provide a source to the ground the response in which a specific scope of information. This will help ensure that response is based on real data. So what you need to do is get data, get data, data that is like you maybe you have a existing script or code or whatever. Give that information to Copilot, let it analyze it. And then number three, you have to add context. This can help the language model craft the appropriate response. So if you just tell it, for example, give me a code for a website that can show people what time of the day it is, and I'm just making this up right now, you don't want to just say, give me the you want to tell it what language website is written, maybe. So you want to be able to give a context of what you're trying to accomplish. You want to set a clear expectation, the response to be explicit about the format and scope of the expected results. So you want to maybe say, give me the code in a C sharp language, or give me the code in Python, or give me the code in like a, HTML5. I don't know. Just make up something that is basically makes sense to you. And then if step five, you want to be able to iterate based on your past response and response to refine the output. In most cases, Copilot does not just send your response as it is into the language model. Usually your prompt is augmented with a system message that sets conditions, and in this case, the condition and constraints for the language model behavior. The conversation history for the current session, including past prompts and response, this enables you to refine the response iteratively while maintaining the context of the conversation. The current prompt potentially optimized by the copilot to reward the appropriately for the model or to add additional grounding to data to scope the responses. The success you have with Copilot and generative AI in general depends on largely how well you craft your prompts. That's why Microsoft says you gonna be enabling where people can become prompt engineers. And so that is something they're trying to do. And if that happens, then know that because they want people to use Copilot well. Right now, they're not believe that people are using well. So the importance of using good prompts has led to new discipline of prompt engineering. That's why they're saying this. So that's why people have to almost get a certification or learn how to use Copilot or and other AIs because you can't just ask question expect to solve and give you miracles. You have to know what it's basically you trying to do, and if you don't know it, then Copilot is not going to know it. So expanding and developing Copilot. So the other thing you could do as an organization is you can make develop custom Copilots for you, or you can use existing one. So for example, Copilot Studio is designed to work well for low-code scenarios in which technically proficient business users or developer can create conversational AI experiences. The resulting Copilot is fully managed SaaS, software as a service, which means you don't need a server or hardware in your environment. You can be just like Office 365, which you don't touch anything. You just maintain, the actual management of this stuff. You don't touch any physical stuff, and it's hosted in Microsoft 365 environment and delivers through chat channel like Microsoft Teams with Copilot Studio. The infrastructure consideration and model development are taken care of for you, making it easy to focus on creating an effective solution. So don't worry about the hardware. Don't worry about the infrastructure. Just to buy the service, let it Microsoft help you with it. So an example of you also have the Azure AI Studio, which is a PaaS, platform as a service development portal for professional software developer that gives you full control of the large language model you can to use, including capability of fine tune the model your data. You can define the prompt flows, the orchestrate conversation flow, and integrate your own data, augmented and prompt engineering logic. You can deploy the resulting Copilot service in the cloud from the custom apps and services. So in this case, this is what it's all about. It's not something that you're gonna have to code a lot, but you still need to know what you're doing. You can use OpenAI and for generative, and you can use it's fully managed, which it makes it easier. You can use in conversation orchestration, built-in analytics, security governance, all the best in class Microsoft. And then you got the Azure, as we talked about it, which is for pro. This is for say amateur, and this is for professional. So this is what it is. So this is pro, and this is for beginner. In this case, I can say beginner. Okay, so you still need to know what you're doing about coding. So if you don't know, then that could be harder even to follow. It's designed for beginners. So even though it's low code, you got to know how to use prompts. So now we need to explore a couple things about Copilot. So you notice here, we can go ahead and do a couple exercises with Copilot. This can take anywhere from to 40 minutes, but in this case, we're just gonna go ahead and click on one of the links. If you click on one of the links, it should be able to prompt us to go ahead and do the version of Copilot. But we've seen this before. So I will probably just put this link in the description. You can go ahead and explore this, and see how you can like it. So let's go ahead next. Now let's go ahead knowledge check. It's all about knowledge checking right now. So number one is what we need to know is that what is large language model? So A, model that works with one language. B, model only works with small amount of data. C, model that can intercept and generate natural language. So that would be C, and you can answer. So this should be the answer. Which copilot should customer support agent use for research and resolve a support ticket? So you got again couple solution over here. You can use Copilot for security, which you don't want to use that. So A is Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft Edge. B is Microsoft Copilot for Dynamic 365 customer service. C, Microsoft Copilot for security. Copilot for security is for solving security issues, so you don't want to use that. Copilot for Edge is for regular searches. So this is customer service issue. That's the question to resolve customer service issue. You want to use this one, B. So Microsoft Copilot for Dynamics 365 service. Now, which tool should a professional developer use to build a custom Copilot and deploy as a service endpoint in Azure? Remember, we talked about it when we were going over. You got a Copilot, Microsoft Copilot for Azure. You got a Copilot, Microsoft Copilot Studio. You got a Microsoft Azure AI Studio. Which one will you use to deploy a service in a basically you need the key thing is the professional developer. When we're going over this before, there was only one solution. This one is not it. It's for beginner or amateur. So that's beginner. This one is not it. So this one would be it. So that's the answer. So if you got that right, then you were listening to the presentation and you learned something about Microsoft Copilot. Let's continue next. Actually, I got it wrong in here. It looks like it says here. Okay. So those are the answers. And apparently, it's supposed to be Copilot for AI Studio. So this is the wrong answer I gave you guys. This is the right answer. Those are your answers. And so, yes, so that's it. So, in the summary, what we learned today is We learn generative AI uses large language model to interrupt natural language and generate a new content. Copilots are generative AI assistants that provide contextual support in application. Organization can empower users by adapting Microsoft Copilot across multiple products and services. You can send Microsoft Copilot and create custom Copilot with Azure Copilot Studio and Azure Studio. So that's what we did, and I hopefully you enjoyed it. And that's all we have for you guys today. That's all we have for you today. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.